I normally drive to church about 90 minutes before the start time for the first Mass I am serving in that day. This means that I arrive a little after the previous Mass has started. As I drive around the parking lot looking for a place to park, I frequently notice an interesting thing. I notice that some car has parked slightly out of place. That is, with the wheels invading the next parking spot. Normally, it is not much, just a couple of inches. Parking places tend to be narrow, so I understand that it can be a little difficult to park inside the assigned spot. I also understand that at the time the person was parking, there were no other cars around, so there was no easy point of reference. And to be a little bit outside the boundaries really does not seem like a big deal. But when I look at the car, the parking lot is now crowded, and I can clearly see the impact that little misplacement caused. And this is what I see. I see that the car next to it was forced to also park a little bit off, and in order to avoid being dinged, it pulled away an extra inch. And so the next car, and so the next car. 3 or 4 cars later, the cars are forced to invade so much into the next space that a full parking spot is skipped. As I am driving around trying to find a space, and I see 3 or 4 parking spots wasted this way, I admit that my thoughts are not very prayerful. Unless you think of summoning fire to come down from heaven as a valid type of prayer. Today, I want to talk about the highly avoided, politically incorrect, denied, vilified, ridiculed topic that rarely finds a place in sermons nowadays. Today, I want to talk about sin. The definition of sin is rather simple. Sin goes against God's will. In our moral decisions, of which we make 24 a day, we have a pretty simple choice to make: to move closer to God or to move away from God. The trick is that when taken one at a time, those decisions seem rather insignificant. Do I smile at the neighbor as I pass by or not? Do I keep the quarter that I found on the table at Dennis or not? Do I park my car a couple of inches outside the parking spot or not? Our lives are packed with moral decisions, and the vast majority of them are small and insignificant. But then again, they make the vast majority of our lives. In the Gospel, we heard how Jesus cleansed the leper. And sin is very much like leprosy. It always starts small. And like leprosy, it spreads fast when left unattended. That is why we have to be very attentive to our daily lives and our daily moral decisions, no matter how small and insignificant they might seem. And this is actually very good news, because the fact that all sin starts small means that it is within our abilities to keep control over it. It is all in the timing. To smile at my neighbor today is a lot easier than to resolve a fight about a common fence tomorrow. To correct my parking by 2 inches now is a lot easier than repark 5 cars 10 minutes later. But to be fair, I am not saying that fixing sin when it is small is an easy task. In fact, it can be rather difficult. But it is always a lot easier than if we wait for sin to grow. Like with leprosy, you have a better chance if you treat it early. An analogy that I frequently use is that of comparing sin to a tiger. Let me ask you, when is the best time to kill a tiger? The answers I normally get are when it's asleep or when it's in a cage. But the correct answer is the obvious one. The best time to kill a tiger is when the tiger is a cub. But the problem, of course, is that when it's a cub, the tiger looks so cute. And so is with sin. The best time to kill sin is when sin is barely noticeable. The problem is that at that time, sin is also so cute. That is why killing sin has become as politically incorrect as to kill a cub. So, what do we do instead? We pat the sin. We feed the sin. We play with the sin. We sociologically explain the sin. We portray sin as a God-given right, even more, as a civil right. We let sin grow. And by the time we notice, sin has grown big and has grown fangs. Sin has grown hungry. And sin no longer looks at us as the feeder, but as the food. As we get ready to start Lent, I ask you to reconsider your relationship with sin. Take a deep look at your daily lives and your daily choices. Detect the times, no matter how small, when you might be choosing sin over God. And fix it. Nip it in the bud. Make it your Lent commitment. Correct your moral parking, even if it is only a couple of inches. And ask God to help you. No matter how big or how small the stain, He wills it for you to be made clean.